I'm Jeannie Gavish. I'm the owner of Nature Coast Real Estate School, and I'm also the 2020 president of the Hernando County Association of Realtors. And I'm with Mike Gallo, who is a dear, longtime friend and once upon a time a mentee.
That's right. Yeah.
And he's the 2020 president of West Pasco Board of Realtors. And we collaborate a lot in real time about what's going on in our associations, especially with the COVID-19 going on and how you're proceeding and how we're proceeding and comparing notes. And we're also on weekly seminars with Florida Realtors leadership so that we can all coordinate our game plan for reopening and coping with the challenges that we have right now. And that brings me to a certain situation that happened this past week that I spoke to you about, and you actually did an amazing thing to help me out, and I want to talk about it a little bit. On my company's weekly meeting call, I had shared the Surgeon General's guidelines, recommendations to not hold in-person open houses. And on the chat, I got a whole bunch of, I won't say that word, negative commentary on it about how they're worthless and viruses can come in, et cetera, et cetera. And yet you had told me, and I had seen you at your virtual houses, at how successful you were at it.
Yeah.
And so I asked you if you could put something together, and you did an amazing job. So can you do a recap on that?
So absolutely. So with what's going on, an in-person open house is just, it opens too many people up to potential health problems. But when we looked at the virtual open houses and the results of those compared to what we normally see at a traditional in-person open house, the benefit of the virtual open house was huge. It not only allows way more people to view the home than they would at an open house, but it gives the owner so much more exposure. It also lets the people who participate, communicate with the realtor directly and ask questions and get specific answers on the house. And I just think it opens things up. We did one, the first one I did had 75 people watch it live. And then we did the replay the next day. I looked at the numbers on the replay, and it was over 550 people had seen the video. So that put, my seller, I've never done an open house where 70 people showed up.
Oh, me either.
So it was really great. And the cool thing with that one was that a person in Texas saw the video, the replay or something, reached out to her realtor, who contacted me, and we went back and forth a little bit and talked about the house. And the buyer did make an offer, sight unseen, and she got cold feet. So she backed off of that, and she's going to make plans to come down and see it if it's still available in the next week or so. But we still got that connection to a buyer in another state from an open house, which traditionally you get the neighbors and a few people who show up, because when you do an in-person open house, they have to be available at the time you're doing it. And that's always the trick of the open house. What's the best day? What's the best time? And there's really no answer to that, I don't think. I've never found any solid, this is when you do them.
I did a lot of experimentation, and I found that Sunday between 1 and 4 is the best time for in-person open houses, because on Saturday, people go to their kids' soccer games and they go shopping and they do their laundry and they clean their house. And on Sunday, people go to church, they go to breakfast, and then they go to open houses. So if you were going to do a conventional open house, which I always cringed when my owners thought that was beneficial, because to me, that's so 20th century. That was the best time that I found. But it sounds like you've really mastered the 21st century way of doing the open houses. And if you wouldn't mind sharing, can you tell me again, what you said before, we started this, about the person in New York who reached out to you?
Oh, yeah. So this is cool. So a friend of mine in New York has their house for sale, and there's a lot of limitations on home showings there.
Yeah.
And she saw my video regarding virtual open houses and reached out and said, is that something my realtor should do? They've never done that. And I'm like, well, yeah, if you're having trouble showing the property, or you have limitations, if you're in a state where you really have strict limitations on showing property, why would you not do that? and get the house in front of as many people as possible. That's what you pay your realtor for. We're there to market and advertise your home, you know, and then of course protect you so you don't end up in some legal pitfall. But number one, if you don't market and advertise the home properly, you're not going to get the offer, and so then
Right.
it's all for nothing.
I don't know. Did you read the same thing that I read that said that the majority of people who are stuck in their homes in quarantine are shopping for real estate online? Like that's what they're doing as their pastime?
Absolutely.
Like,
and I think anyone who has a good link to internet leads, I'm not one of those people. I don't pay for internet leads, you know, through services, but I have a strong, you know, a company that's tied to internet leads, and we're getting a lot of people who are like, well, I'm thinking about buying, you know, the end of the year or the beginning of next year, but they're poking around now. So people are sitting home and looking at houses online. And I think most people look at houses online when they're for sale because you get renovation ideas, you get decorating ideas. So it's just something that we're used to doing. You know, HGTV as a whole network, you know, with how many shows about real estate and buying houses. So I think it's a huge interest. But now that people are a little more, in certain parts of the country, more locked down than other parts, I definitely agree with that article that people are online.
And you know what, if I know that some of them have limitations of where you can go and what you could do. And if I wanted to go out into an open space, I would much rather have it be at Sam's Beach Bar like you showed, or not Sam's Beach Bar, but Gildog where you showed the other night where you're sitting on the bayou, or at Sam's Beach Bar where you're sitting out on the Gulf of Mexico, than some snow-laden, icy, freezing place like up north.
I will say,
suck.
you know, I will say the people who are in the colder climate through this are probably reevaluating that, you know, if they want to stay there or not. Because we lucked out. So we had a stay-at-home order here in the Tampa Bay area for, it was like 2 months basically. And we were social distancing before we were forced to, you know, I think we were all intelligent enough people, aside from what you see on the news and those stock photos of beaches that were lies. But anyway, so we had the luxury of still having beautiful weather,
right, and
places to, you know, you can still go outside and enjoy, whereas other parts of the country were kind of like, the weather's icky, so you're in your house. And I think a lot of people will probably start to think like, maybe I should move somewhere a little more fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm from New York originally. I could never go back to shoveling snow and driving in that traffic or getting on a subway or no.
I lived there for 17 years, so I'm with you. I hate it. I called it ice hell, and I don't ever want to go back. So
slush. I remember slush, and I don't ever want to go back to slush ever again.
Yeah, April is slush. You know, it finally gets a little bit warmer, and so all the snow melts, and then it's
and it's brown.
I'd like to say thank you, and I would like to have another conversation with you regarding open houses and new licensees, because, you know, as the owner of Nature Coast Real Estate School, that's where my heart and passion is, not just getting them licensed, but also getting their careers launched. So thanks so much.
Absolutely. I'm happy to join you anytime.
Thanks.